Okay, welcome everyone. It's so good to see you guys. Hello from NYC. Hello, Marlene. We've got Las Vegas, Nevada. It's good to see you guys this morning. We're here in London, Ontario, so we are just about 2 hours west of Toronto, kind of between Detroit and Toronto. So it's getting a little bit cold here as we move into the fall, but I'm excited to see people coming in for some audio chat this morning. So a little bit about myself here. My name is Randy. I'm the senior content producer here at Voices. I've been with Voices now for just over 5 years, and my whole role here is to give you guys resources to book more work, to have better sounding auditions, to really impress clients when you audition, and to land those jobs. So that's my goal, and today I figured we could just have a chat one-on-one, or I guess a group with one here, and we'll go through some audio tips, give you guys some insight as to what tends to book the most jobs on the platform, what you may be doing wrong with your setups, but we can kind of just chat about audio. So it's so good to see you guys this morning. As for agenda, we've got nothing. I've got like 6 words on a piece of paper here. So basically, I just wanted to leave it open to you guys to ask any questions that you have. I know that part of being a voice talent is that it can be a little bit isolating and a little bit challenging to really see that next step. So I want to kind of pull down the curtain and give you guys the opportunity to ask any questions that you have. So throw them in the chat. This is all up to you guys. We're going to go until the questions run dry. We've got some questions that have come in from social, from our social channels, so I'll be skipping to those as well. But really, we just want to give you the opportunity to ask anything audio related. So bit of my background, I went to a school called OEArt here in London, Ontario, which is actually like just a fantastic audio school, like one of the best. Got a great education in audio. So I'm basically just a big audio nerd, self-proclaimed audio nerd for sure. So my role here is to really give you the best resources possible to improve your home audio. And one of the ways that we do that is through our YouTube channel. Another way is through lives like this on YouTube, and then through our social channels. So I'm going to jump into any questions that you guys have regarding auditioning, demos, you name it. But I'll jump over to some of the questions that we got from social so we can kick things off. But make sure you let me know both where you're tuning in from. It's good to see you guys, and any questions that you have. A big question that we have for talent who are trying to book work on the platform, I guess I'd say one of the biggest ones that I've experienced is I've auditioned a lot and I'm not booking as much work as I would like. That's probably one of the most common questions that we see on the platform. And usually what I find from my experience is that it comes down to one of 2 things. So it's usually not having to do with their voice. What we find is that every voice will fit a project eventually. You just have to get that voice to enough clients so that you're sort of meeting those right jobs. But the 2 things that we find are effort, and the second thing is audio quality. Audio quality is a prerequisite on the platform that you must hit a certain benchmark of audio quality in order to be bookable. And sometimes we'll have talent that will send in a whole bunch of auditions and their audio might just not be meeting that sort of basic threshold. So my goal is to help sort of elevate those auditions and get better quality audio. But yeah, in terms of effort, auditioning to as many jobs as you can that fit your sort of vocal type, and then auditioning with the best audio quality possible is really important. We often get the question like, well, can I just audition on my cell phone or audition with like a cheap USB microphone or something like that. And then when the client books me, they'll send me off to a studio, or I could, go off to a studio and pay for the recording time. And a lot of the time it's not that simple. Clients are anticipating that what they hear in the audition is indicative of what you're going to give them as a final product. So we always want to make sure that the auditions are stacking up to what a client would expect for a final product, because they're not going to take that chance. They're not going to say, well, these 10 talent are really good. This one's exceptional, but their audio isn't good. They want to know that what you're sending in as an audition is also going to be adequate. So hope that helps shed some light on that. How loud should your, oh, sorry, I got two questions here. How long should your voiceover demo be? Voiceover demos, there's a short answer and a long answer to that. I'll give you the short answer, which is about 2 minutes is usually a good length for a demo. Maybe up to 5 minutes maximum. I wouldn't go beyond that. If you think of how to prepare demos, one of the best ways to think of it is, how would a client, let's say you're hiring a voice talent yourself, how would you shop for a talent? Would you go to their profile and would you listen to all of their demos in full? Would you look for the title of the demo that matches what you're hoping to hire? That's my guess is what most clients are doing. They're probably going to the one that says, e-learning or corporate or whatever they're looking for, and then even skimming through that quite quickly. And the whole buying experience for clients is quite fast. So we want to make sure that we're giving them really cohesive samples that are dialed into one particular theme. For instance, if you do a whole bunch of corporate reads, make a reel specifically for that, and then do a reel for animation, and then do a reel for audiobooks. But what we don't want to have happen is a client miss your amazing animation voice because you've buried it in a reel that's geared towards like corporate or e-learning or something like that. So short samples, short demos are always best. Under 3 minutes probably is a really good benchmark. And then just creating a whole bunch of them. They don't have to have music or tons of processing. They just need to be your voice, natural sounding, a little bit of production on them to make them a little bit sweeter. Sure, that's always great. But we just want to give them a wide variety of samples to choose from. So Steven says, here's a dumb question. There's no such thing as a dumb question. I love that. I'm currently using an Audio-Technica AT4050 microphone. My audio treatment is already fantastic, and I'm booking some regular work. Should I buy, or part of this question is getting hidden by something. Let me see if I can move that. There we go. Should I buy a TLM 103 or save up for a U87? That's a great question. So yeah, I'm glad that you're mentioning that your audio treatment is already amazing, because 100% that is the first focus. Like, get that room sounding so good. That's like by far the best thing that you can do for audio. It's just, you can make a really, really inexpensive mic sound great with perfect treatment. So I'm glad that you're crossing that one off, because that's usually what I have to tell people, and they're like, my audio is really bad. What should I do? Should I upgrade my preamp? And I'm like, no, because it's just going to boost bad audio. Like you need to work on the room first. Should you upgrade to a TLM 103 or a U87? Okay. Let me answer your question with a little bit of a story, because I like to ramble. So I did a voiceover microphone shootout on my YouTube channel, and I tested about 9 different voiceover microphones, and did this to see sort of the differences between them, but also just wanted to compare and to answer that question: is it the right thing to upgrade as well? And it's interesting because I have a bit of a history with some of these microphones. Like, I've used a U87 tons of times in sort of a studio capacity. Same with the TLM 103. I've used them dozens and dozens of times. The microphones on voice didn't perform in the way that I thought they would on the voice talent that we used in the video. So all this to say, I think it's really important that you try out a whole bunch of microphones. If you have, I'm not sure if you're in the States or in Canada. In Canada, we have a store called Long and McQuaid. It's like a guitar shop, similar to like Guitar Center in the States. And they let you rent microphones for like $7 for a day. So I would recommend going in there, rent 10 microphones. It'll cost you $70. Bring that home and test all 10 of them in your space with your setup, with your voice, with the same proximity that you usually like to use, because there's just so many variables. And interestingly, the TLM 103 wasn't our top pick. In fact, out of the 9 microphones, it got vetoed third. The one that we ended up keeping for this particular voice actor was the AKG C414 XL2, which just sounded the best to our ears. It's the one that we liked, but it was a good lesson for me because, you know, it's easy to have these biases towards these mics, especially ones with reputations like the TLM-103 and the U87. But I really, really think it's important to try them in your space with your voice. That is a very, very long-winded answer to say that I think you should try some more. We did test the 4040, I believe, was one of the ones that we had in our space to compare. And the AKG was a massive step up from that. So I think, yeah, just even trying a bunch of different microphones, you might find that one of the cheaper ones actually sounds better on your voice, and that's when you've hit the jackpot because you don't have to spend as much money. But yeah, great question, and fantastic that you're starting with the audio quality and the sound treating your space. Love to see that for sure. Can really afford. Yeah, if you can afford the 103, like that's like what about $1,000 right, for the TLM 103. So there's a lot of microphones in that price point. Yeah, that's interesting. That you're in a good spot. I'd say, like, if you could afford the upgrade and it feels like it's a good spot in your business to do that, I would definitely do a shootout. That's a fun spot to be in because you can kind of like audition a whole bunch of microphones, see which one really flatters your voice, and you might find that you're finding other features out of the microphones that you like the form factor, or maybe just it does something nice for the mid-range, or, you know. Yeah. Tough to experience that too if you're not A/B testing them like back to back, even on like the same day. So yeah, if you can get them all in your booth the same day, read the same script, and then like dig in with some headphones and really listen, and then think too, like, what's actually selling this? Do I like this one because it's brighter, or does this one actually sound better? Like, am I being fooled by, you know, brightness? I'm rambling because I love audio and it's really fun to talk about, but Vanessa says, do you guys have any good podcasts for voice actors? Oh, do we ever? We have a podcast called Mission Audition. If you guys haven't seen it already, it's a hysterical podcast. Someone had described it as it's like what do they say? It's like the Voice or something, but for voice actors. Basically, the premise is we take a fictitious product or script, and then we have real voice actors on the platform audition for it. So if you're on Voices, you may see one of these jobs come up for Mission Audition once a month. And then we have a coach come on, a voiceover expert, and they digest the reads that come in with two of our hosts here from Voices. So Tara and Vanessa join in that podcast, and they are just like an absolute hoot to listen to. So if you haven't tuned into Mission Audition yet, you should definitely go check it out. We have I want to say 80 episodes, and you could just go listen through the whole catalog. So yeah, shameless plug for Mission Audition. It's a fantastic podcast. I actually think it's one of the best practical examples for talent to hear what other talent are doing. Because as a voice actor, you're on the site, right? You audition, you go on to your next job, and you have to kind of get in the habit of sending in an audition and forgetting about it. And you never really know what booked the job. It's actually a common question that we hear from people is like, I don't know what actually booked the job, so how do I improve? Mission Audition is like a great way to pull the curtain back and see what actually booked the job, because at the end of the process, they hire the talent that they thought had the best read. So it's really fun. You'll definitely notice some patterns. People tend to like certain traits that voice actors do, so it's a great learning opportunity. We're really proud of that podcast here. I think it's a great idea. Question: what makes for a well-mastered demo using your benchmark? Yeah, so I guess the question really comes down to, are we talking about a demo that is a commercially ready demo that you could send out to, let's say, agents, like it's your calling card, it's like your resume demo, or are these demos that are on the site? Because they do serve two different purposes, and it's important to distinguish that. So let's go through that. So on our site, you can upload your demos, and those demos indicate to our site what types of voiceover jobs you would like us to send you more of. So we have our voice match system, and it looks through your profile and sees, okay, you have 7 e-learning demos on your profile. We're going to favor sending you e-learning jobs because we can see you're really good at it. It's what you like to do. It's what you're showcasing on your profile. So I always recommend to talent, get a demo up in every category on your profile that you would like to book work in. So if you want to do audiobooks, if you want to do animation, if you want to do e-learning, have a specific demo for each one of those uploaded to the profile. Maybe even a couple. Now, these demos don't have to have music. They don't have to have sound effects or, crazy amounts of processing. Just nice, clean demo, 30 seconds to a minute and a half maybe, that just kind of showcase what you can do. That's going to tell our system what to send you. It's really important to make sure that you're indicating to our system that you can do that type of work. So those are, let's call those voices demos. Then there is outside of voices demos, or like your professionally produced calling card. This will have music, it'll have multiple spots sort of woven together. It's gonna sound like broadcast quality, commercially ready sort of productions. These, the benchmark for these is really just making sure that it's hitting the sort of loudness that's expected for broadcast audio. So for sites like YouTube, for instance, we use a terminology called LUFS, loudness units full scale, which is basically it's perceived audio loudness. So they use -14 for YouTube. I think Spotify is -16, or it might be -14 as well. A really, really sort of practical way of doing this is load a commercial into your DAW, try to get your audio to sound similar to that, and then it's probably pretty close. Of course, we don't want any clipping, so we don't want it too loud, but hitting those sort of benchmarks is yeah, it's tough to do without the proper measuring tools, but you can definitely get it pretty close to something just by taking something offline and then putting it in your DAW and trying to match those levels. So, but yeah, it is tough to master a demo. We usually find if you have dialogue that's recorded well and music that's recorded well, usually putting the dialogue in there and then dropping the music down to about -20 or -24, that tends to be like a good benchmark to aim for, just so that the music is out of the way of the dialogue. But yeah, that definitely takes some practice for sure. Great question though. Make sure you guys are sending in your questions here. We've got like 40 minutes on the clock here, so I'm gonna keep answering until there's no more questions. But I'm gonna jump over to some of the social questions here that have come in. Best microphones for 2023. Oof, that's a good question. I'll tell you my favorites. So let's do a cheap, let's do a mid-range, and let's do an expensive. And this is based on my subjective opinion. None of this is based on facts. This is based on how I feel right in this moment. So let's go through this. Okay, so let's do budget. We're talking under $150. I have to go Audio-Technica AT 2020. It is a sort of mid-sized diaphragm, so it's not a large. It's a little bit smaller than a large diaphragm condenser. Relatively low self-noise, relatively good performance. Lots of talent use them because they're, I think, about $120 US, I want to say, at the time of making this live here. Yeah, so we're going to go Audio-Technica AT 2020. Moving up, let's move up to like the $500 category, and I would have to give that to, there's a lot of mics in that category, isn't there? This is the AKG C2414. This is a good mic. I do like this one. Would it be my top pick? Yeah, I'm gonna have to go AKG. I'm gonna go AKG C214 or AKG P420. I think those are both pretty great microphones. And then let's move up to the expensive ones, like $1,000 plus. Okay, here's an interesting one. We have this microphone here, which we use for all of our YouTube videos. This is the Sennheiser MKH50. This is an oddball choice to put in this mix because this isn't really seen as a voiceover microphone. However, most film crews now will have this in their kit and they'll use it for dialogue shots inside. And by that nature, it is a very, very good dialogue microphone. I think that this is one of the best dialogue reproduction microphones. Just boomed in, slightly out of frame. It just sounds fantastic on voice. So I would actually put this up there, but I think I'd have to go for my main microphone would be a U87, probably. That would probably be it. Oh, we got some questions coming in that weren't showing up on my end here. Holy smokes, they just popped up. So let's go through these. Other than voices, what social media is the best to drive traffic to your voices profile? Definitely your own social media. Yeah, Vanessa's jumping in there saying, do you have a TikTok? Oh, I see what she's saying. Okay. Yeah. If you're looking to drive traffic to your voices profile, I would say use social media. Like if you have an Instagram, I would use that. I would use a TikTok. You could do like little TikTok videos that are like, script recreations or character recreations or something like that I think would perform really well. It's tough to get those backlinks coming to your profile. Yeah, it is difficult. There's always that question of how do you market yourself? Like, do you have a social media account? I know some voice actors really love having that, and some just kind of avoid it and just use their voices profile. But definitely, yeah, a lot of people use Instagram. It's a great way for discoverability, to comment on other people's things, to interact with creative producers. You can find them and say, hey, I love this project. Like, I'm a voice actor. Let's connect. Yeah, say that would work well. Also, LinkedIn could work really well. Do you guys have a TikTok? I love your content. Yeah, Vanessa, if you guys haven't seen Vanessa over on TikTok, go open up TikTok right now. Give our channel a follow. She's hilarious over there. Yeah. She ropes me into a lot of the TikToks when she comes into the office, and I sometimes I have to hide from her when she comes in, but it's fun. What is your VO processing chain like? Yeah, I usually use 4 plugins-ish when I'm recording dialogue. So I usually use a couple of plugins from Isotope. So Isotope Mouth Declick is one of them. Absolutely love that. It just kind of takes away those little like mac and cheese kind of, gross mouth sounds. That's fantastic. I usually use an EQ just to get rid of some low end, maybe a slight little boost around 3K just to sort of make the voice pop out just a bit more, just like very, very, very broad brush strokes. Then I'll use a compressor just to get levels up to sort of a broadcast level. And then the last thing that I usually put on is a de-esser, just to tame some of those harsh S's. Yeah, you can kind of do a combination of like mic technique as well as de-essing. I tend to put one on just because it just makes it easier to listen to, especially if you're doing like a long read or something like that. Like I make YouTube videos that are sometimes 10, 15 minutes of me just rambling like this, and I don't want people to have to like sit through, 15 minutes of S's. It would just be uncomfortable. Yeah, Jeff is saying stuff on loudness. Sorry, I'm way behind in these questions. Thanks for the questions, guys. This is fantastic. We'll get through all this here. Dion Marie, voiceover. Question. Sometimes I'll get a random glitch in my audio. I have uploaded all my equipment. I was wondering if it's the DAW that I'm using. I use Twisted Wave. Do you recommend a different one, such as Adobe? I don't recommend Adobe. I mean, Adobe Audition is fantastic. It is a great program. I hate subscriptions. I actually just canceled a few subscriptions yesterday because I'm like, I don't want to be spending money on things that I'm not using every day. Of course, if you're doing voice acting, it's like $30 or $20 a month or something. So it's a reasonable business expense, I think. But there are some cheaper options, some options where you pay once and you keep the product forever. So for instance, Pro Tools has a free version that is fully featured for voiceover. You could use that. Logic is a one-time payment of $2.99, I think. You could use that. You could use Reaper, which is a pay what you're able, I believe, or pay donation. I'm not sure what the correct term is, but it's not free. You're supposed to pay for it, but you can use it for a while and then decide to pay. So there are some options out there. If you're getting some glitches, yeah, I'd be curious to know what those glitches are. It's tough to say without a little more information, but yeah. Music and demos. If you're doing your own, find the primary frequency of your voice and then dip that frequency using EQ in the music. Yeah, that's a great point. So that's almost like ducking, but it's just making room in your mix for multiple things. So that's a great point. I usually, in my YouTube videos, I'll dip that 3K range down in the music, and that way there's a little bit more space for my voice in that range, so they're just not competing with each other. But that's a great point. What are your thoughts on producing voice work with outboard equipment versus totally inside the box? Ooh, great question. I'm an inside the box kind of guy, and for the main reason that this comes from a guitar player's background. So I'm a guitar player, and I played in theater for a long time as like a stage musician, like just a house band. And I had a big pedal board, I had all the tools that I needed, and sometimes the sound would just stop coming out. And it was beyond frustrating. And then I, wiggle two little cables between two pedals on the board, and all of a sudden the sound comes back in. And then it's working perfectly. And then the sound cuts out again. And I got so frustrated with dealing with different pieces of gear and the connections and all these little spots where there's room for sort of like noise to be created or loose connections, that I ended up getting like an all-in-one pedal board that does everything that I need it to do in one board. If that fails, it's going to be a really bad failure. It'll be complete failure. But I won't have these little blackout sections where something just stops working and then I'm like kneeling down on stage trying to like repatch things. So that's sort of where my mind goes with processing, and where I like to do things that are in the box, because I know that I can see the chain right in front of me. I know if there's noise coming, I know what it's from. So for that reason, that's where my brain says go inside the box. It's just a little bit easier. It's also easier to recall settings. And that's something that's very important for voice actors, because when a client comes up 2 months later and says, loved what you did, that was amazing. Can we do that same session again, but I just want to change the CTA. Can you just jump in and change the CTA? I'll pay you whatever you want, whatever. If you jump back in, it's important that you can nail the exact same tone. And if you have outboard gear, things can get bumped unless you're like writing down and physically drawing out the recall sort of settings. Things can get bumped. So yeah, I think for voiceover, with the amount of processing that you have to do, it's probably easier inside the box. Let me add one more point to that, is that sometimes the client will call and say, loved what you did, can you send me over the raw tracks? And there's no way to do that if you've burnt the effects onto the voiceover. So for that reason, just flexibility, ease of use, I would say inside the box would be my method, but to each their own. If you like your outboard gear, go for it. Some outboard gear is amazing. So pop snaps other. Oh, we're still talking about the glitch. Okay, gotcha. Thanks. Thank you. Vanessa, where can talent find a coach to hire on your platform? Yeah, if you guys are looking for a voiceover coach, just go to voices.com/coaches, and we have a whole list of coaches. You can find one that's in your area. Of course, they all do remote sessions as well. So it can be a really great thing. Just if you find yourself in a slump, or you find, I'm plateauing, or I've hit this point, I just don't know how to break through that next barrier. Sometimes a coach, even just for a couple of sessions, just to say like, hey, you could really improve this, can be worth its weight in gold. So we also have coaches on our webinars monthly, so make sure to check them out there. You can find a coach that you really resonate with, that seems like a good personal fit for you, and then they're easy to find through our platform. Thanks, Vanessa. Appreciate that. Love what you're saying here. I actually tend to dip. Okay, yeah, Jeff. Thanks for the feedback on that. Tend to dip 3 decibels at 2K on all music. Tracks below. Yep. Great advice. Reaper. Yep. Reaper is getting up there. Eh? People are starting to really like Reaper. As I say A with my Canadian dialect here. Electric surge. Yeah, sorry that you're having that audio issue. That's an electric surge. That might be a power issue with your interface. That can happen too. Sometimes a USB hub may not be providing adequate power for your audio interface. And in that case, sometimes you can get some clicks and pops. So that might be an interesting thing to look at. But yeah, it does. People are sort of saying it's a power thing, and it does seem like it would be power. Here's an example similar to the one I have. Oh, Jeff, sorry. I think I have links turned off for guests. Sorry. Yeah, everyone's saying power. Look at that. What a team. You guys are great. This is so much fun. So this is the stuff that I think about in my head all day. So it's really nice to be able to have this conversation with you guys. This is a lot of fun. Keep these questions rolling in, because we got some time left here. I just want to make sure that I can get to everyone's questions. Let's go through some of these ones from social here. The best processing VO stack. We kind of already covered that. Oh, let me clear that last question here. There we go. Sending many samples to my clients. Why are they not responding? Okay, yeah, here's a question. So I've sent many samples to clients. Why are they not responding? That's sort of the nature of this industry. It is a send it and forget it mindset. You really have to start getting in the habit of just doing the absolute best job that you can in 3 or 4 minutes for an audition. Cut that down to your best 30 seconds and send that to the client and just forget about it. Just move on. That job should, you just need to get it so far out of your memory that you don't even know. And then when you get hired, you're surprised by it. And it's kind of that nice reward. But if you think of how a client would shop, think about you using Amazon, for instance. Like you go on Amazon, you're looking for a towel rack or something like that. You don't go back and like, this is a bad example, but you don't go back and like apologize to the other towel racks. Like, sorry, I didn't use your company. I found another one. Like when you find the product you want, you just hire it and you move on with your life. So I think that's where a lot of our clients are, is they're like, they got auditions, yes, but they're also busy producers. They've got stuff going on. They're doing their own job. They've got external stakeholders. So when they get that voiceover that they love, they just hire that person and then they move on. They don't necessarily go through and message everybody and say, thanks for your audition. As nice as that would be, I would love that. But yeah, they're busy people. So they want to get through their day of work. And that means just hiring the voice talent and moving on. So I hope that answers that question okay. I'm 19 and I want to start as a voiceover. I want to start as voiceover. Can I do? I'm a girl from India. Absolutely you can. Yeah. Just create a guest profile. If you go to voices.com /sign up, I believe, you can create a guest profile. You can upload some demos, upload some samples. And then if you're ready to start auditioning, you can get a membership and then audition directly to our clients. And yeah, we have voiceover jobs in India. We have voiceover jobs in, I think, 160 countries now, which is just crazy. It's like completely around the globe. So it's, yeah, absolutely. The more the merrier. Happy to have you. One thing too, actually, I will say is you're from India. A lot of our, let's call them outside of America voices. A lot of the times clients are looking for those types of voices and they can be really hard to find on the internet. So labeling your profile, with your native languages as well as your location really helps clients find those hard to find voiceover talent. So for instance, like if you speak Swahili, you're going to be like one of 5 people that can do that. So it's great to have that on the profile because when there's a job for it, your odds are fantastic. My first recommendation is start with classes. I always closing credits. Great community. Oh, that's interesting. That's a great idea. Okay, here we go. Does a voiceover reel help, or is the audio demo really adequate? Okay, so I think the question you're asking is the voiceover reel valuable for booking jobs, or is the audition adequate? Yeah, demos are great to serve on your profile to tell clients what jobs you can do, but the audition books, like, I'm pulling the stat out of my head. This is not a real stat, but it's like 99% of the jobs. Like 99% of the transactions that happen on our site are a client posted a job, 40 to 60 talent auditioned to it, the client picked their favorite one, and they hired that talent. I would say it's a rarity that talent would come to the platform and skim through all of the various talent, listening to demos, and then hiring one of them. It's such a long process for them. And if you can imagine their experience, if they're coming, like, let's say my boss said, oh, Randy, go find a voiceover. We need it for this project that's due on Friday. I want to get that voiceover as fast as I can. So I'm going to Voices. I'm looking at the website. I'm seeing all the talent, and then I'm seeing a post a job button. And I'm like, okay, I'm just going to post a job. So I post a job, open it up to talent to audition, pick one of my favorite auditions. And that's pretty much how it works every time. So yeah, the demos in your profile, they're great. Occasionally they may make a client want to hire you, but ideally it is the auditions. Yeah, hope that answers your question. All right, what do we got here? Is it possible to use a dynamic microphone for voice acting, for professional voice acting? Yes, absolutely. So there are some dynamic microphones that talent use. Generally speaking, I would say the vast majority tend to use large diaphragm condenser microphones like this. Large diaphragm condensers, they are quite sensitive, which is great for picking up sort of the nuances in your voice. The sort of dynamic broadcast style microphones like the Shure SM7B, the Electro Voice RE20, to name a few, they tend to distort the sound slightly in a flattering way for broadcast. So because they have a really heavy diaphragm in them, sounds like the, kind of P's and T's and the really light sounds in your voice, those tend to not have enough weight to physically move that diaphragm to create an electrical signal. So this is really nerding out a little bit, but that's why that radio sound, it tends to have like a really warm sound to it. It also tends to not have too much high frequency detail. It's just, those microphones do a really nice job of just slightly shaving off some of those high frequencies. It's not noticeable to most people. It's just a really, really subtle coloring of the sound. Large diaphragm condensers also shave off a little bit of those high frequencies because the diaphragm is so large, it takes a while to move. Small diaphragm condensers like these guys are actually the most sensitive microphones, and they're the most accurate reproduction because the diaphragm in there is so small, it has no trouble adjusting to the sound waves coming in. But large diaphragm condenser is usually the way to go, but you can definitely use a dynamic if you've got one kicking around. VoiceOver Reel is nice to have, and cutting it up into smaller segments for Voices platform is great. To get more jobs in the system. Yeah, that's a great point. So 100%, you can always take your finished work and use them as demos. Usually people don't have issues with that, especially if it's not something that was like you signed an NDA or something like that. But yeah, that's great. When you replace a file after your audition, doesn't change your number in the line. Oh, if I was a third, my audition will be... Okay, that's a good question. I think... Before, like months, maybe a year ago, it used to not change your spot in line. I think you could update your audition, I want to say 3 or 4 times without it changing your spot in the line. What we found is that some people would gamify that when they figured that out, and they would upload like nothing, like 10 seconds of silence, go to their studio, record an audition, and then replace their audio file. You know, people are going to find fun ways to do things, but I believe that we've edited that so that when you replace your audio file, I believe it does change your spot in line. That said, most clients are going to listen through the majority of the auditions anyway, so I wouldn't be too hung up on your spot in the line. If you're a great fit for the job and you've got a great sounding voice, great sounding audio, you should be a good chance of booking the work. Cheers from Rome, Italy. Oh my goodness, thanks for tuning in. Really appreciate it. Started a month ago on your platform, enjoying it so far. Still waiting for my first booking though. Oh, that's awesome to hear that you're joining in. Really excited to have you here. Good luck with the bookings. It can take a little bit of time, especially depending on how many jobs you're seeing coming your way that are a good fit for you. We usually see that it can take anywhere from 50 to 100 auditions to start really getting it and booking your first work. Beyond that, it starts to get easier and easier, and those booking rates go up through the roof. But yeah, it can be tough when you're starting out. There's a lot of hurdles to cross and a lot of things to figure out. So I appreciate you being here and excited to see your name popping up. Okay, if I post my demo just to be in the first 10 and then replace yeah, okay. Yeah, I believe you can do that, but I'm not sure how that impacts your spot in line. So I'll have to earmark that one and kind of come back to that if I can figure that out. But yeah, it's a good question. I think that we did change that. In my opinion, being the first 10 is completely unnecessary. Yeah, I do agree. Like, I don't know, if you think of like, again, I always take this back to how do clients buy voice talent? And if I'm a creative producer working at an ad agency in a big city and I'm trying to cast a person for this role, I'm going to post the job and then I'm going to like go to a different tab and do some other stuff, work with some other people. I'm going to go to a meeting. I'm going to talk to my manager for a bit. I'm going to come back. I'm going to be like, oh, a few people started auditioning, and I'm going to listen through. But like, they're not really incentivized to hire someone in the first 10 auditions submitted. Like they know there's going to be a few more. A lot of them will like post and then come back the next day and listen. So I don't think that there's too much urgency around being that early. Of course, there is the expression early bird gets the worm. And of course, like there will be times where they're like, wow, this audition just came in like hot off the press. This person's amazing. Let's just hire them and get it done. That'll happen. But I think it's less common than it may seem. That's my own takeaway. Anything about Twisted Wave? Is it good in terms of a quality DAW? Yeah, absolutely. Any DAW, any single DAW that you can get your hands on is going to do the exact same for audio quality. Where they shine in different ways is things like the built-in plugin suite that they have, for instance, or the built-in tools. Like Adobe Audition has a spectral frequency display, which basically shows the whole frequency spectrum, and you can like literally go in and do micro adjustments. So things like that can be useful, not necessary for most applications. There are some challenges with certain DAWs, like GarageBand. You can't put crossfades, which is very annoying. Yeah, but Twisted Wave, no, a lot of people use that. I think it's totally acceptable. So yeah, that's great. Jeff says, I've also worked on the casting side. You could be the first or last audition and still be in the running for the job. Yeah, 100%. If you're the right voice for the job, you're the right voice for the job. Again, audio quality has to be at a certain level. That's the prerequisite. But if you're the right voice, then there's no reason why you wouldn't get the job. Great questions, though. Okay, let's move on here. What else do we have? What is your take on using a tube preamp? I'm a, quote, old guitarist and love the tube warmth, using a Focusrite Scarlett for VO, and I don't hear much about other VOs using tubes for VO. Mighty pricey. Is it something that would stand out? Wow, great question. So using tubes for voiceover. So for those that don't know, some microphones, usually in a large diaphragm condenser, if you open them up, they'll actually have a tube transistor or tube inside that is essentially powering the microphone. So it's part of the power circuit of the microphone. And why people use tubes is that they have a really nice distortion to them. Typically when we think distortion, we think bad, I don't want my audio distorted. I want the purest audio possibly. But tubes do a really nice job of, in the audio industry, they call it like browning the sound a little bit. It's like a saturation that just adds a little bit of kind of warmth in the lower range. In some cases, it may sort of artificially appear to lose some of the high frequency. So it's just like, it just warms up the sound a little bit. And for that reason, people in recording studios, specifically music recording situations, tend to love tubes. Like there's tubes in guitar amps, there's tubes in compressors, there's tubes in, they're all over the place. Why I think tubes are a bad idea for voiceover is one specific reason, and that's for punch-ins. Because tube microphones actually take a little bit of time to get up to their running temperature, and that saturation changes over a duration of time. So what happens is, it's 7 p.m., you did a job at, 2 in the afternoon, and a client says, oh, shoot, the client just changed the CTA. Can I trouble you to jump in and just change this one line? You go down, you flick on your microphone, turn on the tubes, and the tubes have to warm up, or the tone is going to be slightly different. And this may be not even slightly like audible. It might not be a difference that you really hear. But to some keen ears, they may notice a difference. They may say like, why does it just sound like it's not fitting properly? And it's really, really hard to imitate that sound. So for that reason, I would say I would probably avoid tube microphones. Also, tubes wear out. Every 8 or 9 years, you have to kind of get rid of those tubes and replace them, which is, again, going to change the sound dramatically. So you're going to go from really old tubes to brand new tubes. I just don't know that it's worth if the juice is worth the squeeze, as they say. So, if my profile says sphere microphone, will that be judged as an emulation microphone and not an original? Does equipment listing matter for clients? I would say not really. No, they might look at your profile. So let's say Coca-Cola hires you, like massive job. They're debating sending you to a studio. They might look at your profile to see if you have adequate equipment at home. They might say like, okay, we want to do a Source Connect session. Do you have like a isolation chamber, and do you have a really good microphone? If they see that you don't, they'll probably just send you to a studio anyways. And then I'm thinking, would it matter for smaller clients? And I can't imagine, like, if they like your audition, are they really going to look at your profile and be like, that's an emulator? I don't think, I can't imagine a world where it matters to them. Like it's a great question. And I totally see where you're going with that, because it's like, it's not a new Neumann U87. Like, am I going to get roasted for that? But I don't think so. I think you're probably fine. Yeah. Yeah, Jeff says tubes add nice color. The fun thing about tubes is that you can swap them out to change the character of the sound. 100%. Yeah. That's great. What does one do when someone leaves their number or email? I'd like to connect in your message. Yeah, even if telling you all conversations stay here, but they still insist. Should we report it? Yeah, you can report it. So for those that may not know, it is a bit of a terms and conditions violation to give out your personal information through Messenger, through our on-platform Messenger. And one of the big things to consider is that if a client has hired you for the job, and then they've locked in the funds here at Voices, we hold those funds until you're done the project. So what happens is if they take the project offline, you finish the project, you send them files, and it's not done through our messaging system, there's no way for us to verify that you did the work. So when you say, hey, this client hasn't paid me in 2 months, to us, it looks like there are no files uploaded. Like the project doesn't look like it's even commenced yet. So it gets really dicey when things leave the platform in terms of us going to bat for you, which happens occasionally, not very often, but it does happen. So we want to make sure that we can help you out as much as possible, and our support team will always go to bat for you. For instance, if we see that you've completed a job and the client's not releasing the funds, I believe we have a 2-week automatic, it automatically distributes the funds in 2 weeks, or our support team can jump in, press a button, and you get paid. So we want to make sure we can protect you there. So yeah, I would say report it. Yeah, it's a tough situation because like sometimes by the nature of the job, there are certain things where you need to like exchange files. It's difficult. I would just say loop in support and ask their opinion because they might be able to give you some better information on that one. Maybe a silly question. Never a silly question. I love all the questions. Is Audacity any good to use in voiceover or better to pay for a DAW? Yeah, I kind of touched on this earlier. Just about every DAW is perfect. There are a couple DAWs that have more features, a couple DAWs that have things that you may like or that you may be really drawn to. In terms of audio quality, they're all the exact same. They're all working with the exact same audio files. It's more a question of feature set. So if Audacity has all the features that you want, definitely go for it. One of the things that I don't like about Audacity is that it is destructive editing, which is like something that you don't see in any other software ever anymore. It's like a very 90s kind of thing where if you apply an effect, it writes over the original file. So I would be afraid to use Audacity in fear of like editing something poorly and then it's just gone forever. So yeah, Audacity scares me for that reason. I like to be able to undo because I make a lot of mistakes. So it's really important. What about shotgun condenser microphones with tight pickup patterns for home studios? Is that preferred over the other ones? Okay, that's a fantastic question. So shotgun microphones, for those that don't know, a shotgun microphone is like a skinny microphone like this. They're typically like a small diaphragm condenser. This is not a shotgun, but they look a lot like this. And they are a hypercardioid pattern, which means they pick up a tube basically straight in front of the microphone. So it's very, very, very directional, meaning if you're pointing like this, it hears you. If you point like this, it doesn't hear you. They have a lot of side rejection. But shotgun microphones also pick up a little bit from behind the microphone. Not like there's a capsule in the back of it, but the sound coming this direction passes the microphone and then gets picked up. Whereas a cardioid microphone, like the one we're using, has almost complete rejection on the back of it. So these are great because the sound that's leaving my voice is hitting this computer monitor here and bouncing back. And I know that the microphone is rejecting that reflection as much as possible. If I put a shotgun microphone right here, you're actually going to get a lot of that bounce back coming from the back of the microphone. So shotgun microphones are great for side rejection. They're also great because you can kind of put them a little bit further away, which will give you a bit more room to read your copy. And they're not as intrusive. They're a much smaller form factor, obviously. Yeah, so for that reason, they're great. They're also the most sensitive style of microphone. So they are, they reproduce vocals the most accurately. So remember how I said how these diaphragms are large, so they actually kind of distort the sound slightly because they can't keep up with really fine details. Small diaphragm condensers don't have that trouble, so they're very, very accurate. Even at their low-end reproduction, they're very accurate. These microphones will generally give you the most like neutral sounding dialogue. That's why they use these in film and TV. So film and TV, they're always using shotgun microphones pretty much. But yeah, they're good for home studios. The thing I would caution you against is In home studios, there's going to be a lot of reflections to deal with, and they're not great for reflections. Despite how accurate they are, they still pick up some stuff from behind. So that might be one of those things where you want to try it out against a large diaphragm condenser in cardioid pattern and see which one gives you the best results in your space. If your space is really well treated, a shotgun should be just fine, for sure. And I love the form factor of them. Honestly, I love the idea of having a microphone like slightly off axis, a little bit above. I've got all this room to like read my copy. There's just so much space here. So that can be a really nice feature for sure. And I need to grab a sip of water because I'm nerding out about all this audio here. Okay, started book work on Audacity. It's not awful. There are better options out there. Yeah, Steven, I totally agree. There are better options. My opinion, go get Reaper. It's not as easy to get started, but there are a lot more features. Yep, Jeff loves Reaper. You'll see him commenting about Reaper all the time. So yeah, Reaper's great. How are you liking your Studio Bricks studio? Yeah, Studio Bricks is fantastic. So I don't do any voiceover, but yeah, they're fantastic. So it's like 43 decibels of noise rejection, which is like a truck can go by outside and you won't hear it. It's fantastic. And the acoustic treatment. So one thing with Studio Bricks and like Whisper Rooms and any sort of those like box studios, even when someone's recording in their closet, you run into issues with like low end modes sometimes where you'll hear like this room has one. It's really hard to demonstrate, but there's like a frequency in here that rings when I talk. It's sort of that like, you get it a lot if you go in like a shower or something like that. You can hear that like ringing frequency. Those are super, super annoying for voiceover. And a lot of the time when you're in a smaller booth, those get really bad and really hard to control. Studio Bricks does a great job with all of their passive absorption. They've got bass traps and really, really, really premium panels. So yeah, they work really well. They're very expensive, but man, does it ever work well as an isolation booth for sure. Yeah, if you're just getting started, it's not bad. Look at this conversation here. You guys are great. It's fun seeing so many people chatting about audio. I just love this. Hi, Mamina here. How many demos should we upload? And should we do them in different categories? Yep. Upload a demo in every category that you'd like to book work in. So if you want to do audiobooks, make sure you have at least one audiobook demo on your profile. That'll help our system be informed of which ones to send you. So definitely as many demos as you can is great. But yeah, one in each category for sure. I can't speak to Audition, but Reaper is great. It was made by audio engineers who got sick of Adobe's submodel. Oh, I didn't know that. That's interesting. Yeah, I don't like the submodel either. I don't like paying for things over and over again. I like having the updates. So maybe that's the cost of getting nice updates. But yeah, I'm curious to know how many times Reaper is updated. Like, are they quick with updates when a new OS comes out? Because I usually stay on the most recent OS. Okay, if my Audition checks the ACX profile, does that mean it's okay on the quality of the audio for VO, or should I target different levels? Yeah, ACX has a pretty stringent standard, I would say. Their audio checks are quite good. If you're hitting targets there, you're probably pretty good just about everywhere else. We usually recommend normalize your auditions to around -1 decibels, which for most broadcast standards is quite high. But we want to make sure that you have a nice punchy, loud audition. If you think of it like psychologically, when a client is scrolling through those auditions, they're hearing the same first few seconds on every single audition. Like they'll hear, my demo, blah, 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 my demo, blah, 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 my demo. And like, it's very tedious. So when you have one that's nice and punchy and loud, it kind of grabs the attention and they go, just psychologically, they're like, yes, this is better. Unfortunately, we equate louder with better a lot of the time. So you really want to play to that in your auditions for sure. I bought a 416 at knockdown price and it's going to treat the space here. Oh, amazing. 416s are awesome. Yeah, people love the 416. It's ubiquitous for content creators. A lot of them really enjoy it for video production for sure. And dialogue, like it's a great dialogue mic. Oh, okay, treat the space. Yep, just make sure you treat your space. Yeah, audio treatment is key. I actually have a studio teardown audio file on my SoundCloud where I record how my audio degrades as I take down my treatment. That's really cool. Wow, We should make that into a video here. That sounds like an awesome, awesome video. A good mic in a crappy environment will sound crappy. A mediocre mic in a well-treated environment. Yeah. So I used to have a teacher that said, what was his quote? It was something like, because he was talking about, can you use like a USB microphone to record a whole album? And his response to that was, you can, but the thing with a USB microphone is it might have, he said like it's a little bit of like, he said a little bit of crap in it. He said what you end up with is by the end of the recording is a whole pile, and that's because the bad spot keeps layering over itself over and over again as you keep adding the same audio file with the same audio issues and the same noise profile. By the time you're done your recording, you have so much of that noise in those areas. So yeah, that's fun. I just bought a whisper room. Do you think that'll be good marketing tool to place on my profile? Oh, 100%. Yeah, I would put that on your profile for sure. Absolutely. Those are fantastic. So yeah, put that in your equipment section. I would even put that in your description, like in your bio, like fully, however you want to word it, fully sound treated, recording environment, whisper room, whatever you want to say. Definitely notify clients that you have a professional solution at home. A lot of the time, clients will look at your profile and say, do I need to send this person to a studio for a bigger job, or can they do it from home? So Source Connect and a whisper room, yeah, you're in good hands there for sure. Look for my studio teardown. Very cool. That's awesome. So much Reaper chat in the chat. I love it. Yeah, Reaper is really cool. I'm in that spot where I was trained on Pro Tools, and so like for me to switch to another DAW, and I edit all my videos in DaVinci Resolve, but I used to use Premiere Pro, and it's like there's too many editors in my brain that I'm already like losing key commands and stuff. So I just stick with Pro Tools because it's been easiest for me. But yeah, there are definitely better options out there, if I may say so myself. But of course, everyone has a different opinion on that. Any recommendation on the ideal headphones? I have the DT770 Pro. Oh, I have those at my house. Those are what I use to edit all my videos on. They're so comfortable. Oh my goodness. An HD 280 Pro Sennheiser for monitoring and editing. That's awesome. Yeah. The 770 Pros are so comfortable. I think like you're probably fine with what you have. I would say like the biggest concern realistically is probably comfort. If you're thinking about recording for, hours on end, comfort's going to be a pretty key point. So yeah, I would say go with what's the most comfortable. If you're getting good results with them, definitely just keep those. But yeah, the Sennheiser headphones are great too. Love those. Jeff says the Sony MDR 7506. If those are the ones that we have in the office here, Jeff, I tend to not like those on my voice. I don't know why. They sound like a bit shrill, but we might not be thinking about the same ones. It's very important to keep your voice in great condition. Talk about the benefits of hydrating prior. Yeah, hydrating is key. Let me take a little sip. Not sponsored by Bubbly, by the way. I just love these things. I got on such a carbonated water kick this year. It's like all I drink now. I think it teaches me to drink water because I'm really bad for that. I usually don't drink enough water. But if it's flavored, I can do it. Let me read a couple more questions here, and then I'm gonna call it and go grab some lunch. Okay, let me find a good one here that came in from our social channels. Okay, what do we got? Okay, we got a couple questions here. Yeah, there are some good Reaper tutorials on YouTube. I think it's going to be something that we have to make one for our channel as well for voice actors, because it's definitely something that's being recommended more and more. Biggest mistake in auditioning. Interesting. Yeah, biggest mistake in auditioning. I'm just trying to think of what our clients would say. So slating is a big mistake in auditioning. Do not ever slate your audio. It is such a dated technique. For those of you that may not be familiar with the term, it's basically when you say like, Randy Rector, reading for this role here, take number 3. Like they don't want to hear it. If you think of the groove that they get in, like, two artistic directors working at a company sit down together, they got an earbud in, they're just scrolling through the auditions looking for the right voice. And it's like, they hear the start of the script every time, like, blah, 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 blah. And then they hear the person like, my name is so-and-so. Like, it like pulls out of the flow so much, and they just want to skip it. And then it's like, if they want to skip it, that's not a good look for you. So don't slate, and then get into the audition right away. Like, they click play, you should be reading, and it should be the best 15 seconds that you could possibly give them. That's all you need to do. You don't need to do anything more. Definitely just give them the best 15 seconds. Is it necessary to monitor on headphones while edits, or a good speaker is fine? Too much headphones can cause headaches. Oh yeah, 100%. I'd say once you get your setup dialed in, just switch to speakers if you're more comfortable with that. It can definitely cause some audio fatigue using headphones all day. So yeah, that's totally fine. It can be useful while you're recording to hear things like if you bump the stand, or if some wind hit the microphone or something like that. But yeah, definitely don't need to. Biggest mistake, reading too fast. Yeah, that's my habit. I don't know if you've seen our YouTube videos, but when I get going, when I'm talking about audio, there's nothing stopping me. I'm going to dive into VO, even though I know AI is looming large. It's something I've been wanting to do. Yeah, it's a good point about AI. We still see that like our clients are nowhere near ready to hire AI. Like, I think we're gonna see AI biting at the heels of the cheaper jobs for sure. Like, people who just want a 5-minute read on their YouTube channel, they're gonna find an AI voice. So that's why we're venturing into AI voices here, at like AI clones at Voices, so people can hire real professional voice talent and hire their clone, which is really cool. If you think of our clients, like these massive clients, Fortune 500 companies, when they have a session, it's like 6 of them in the studio, an engineer, a producer, the creative director, their boss. It's a whole team of people. And when they ask the voice talent, like, hey, can you read this again, but can you just like make it feel more like this? We're still far away from that being able to be replaced. It's just like they want too quick of a human interaction to bring their project to life in a human way. AI is definitely gonna do great things for people who need really quick turnarounds, really quick. Like, think of you go to a train station and they're like, oh, we need to tell people that the train to Tennessee is actually going to be on track 3, not track 2. Something like that, where they can just type it in and then it'll read it out loud over the intercom. Those kind of things are fantastic uses for that. There's no like quality concern. There's no human concern. It's just informational. So things like that we'll see a lot of AI taking over for those types of gigs. I've been getting so much grief over the choice of mics. I've been told the IVRs are better for voice actors, but I have a USB mic, which is better. I'm not sure what you mean by IVRs. I've been told the IVRs are better for voice actors, but I have a USB mic. Yeah, USB microphones are limited in that the audio interface and the microphone are in the same body. Because of this, because all these guts from the interface are crammed in the body of the microphone, there tends to be some noise interference issues. So USB microphones are inherently noisier microphones than large diaphragm condensers that have their own interface separate from the device. So USB mics are great to start off, but you'll definitely want to be upgrading from them as soon as you're able to, as soon as your business has the resources to reinvest, if that makes any sense. That's a great answer there, Stephen. I appreciate that. Great way to learn, a great way to learn how to treat your space and learn the recording process. Oh, thanks so much for the kind words. Really appreciate it. Yeah, we're gonna do more of these, so I think this is probably a good time to wrap up. I'm gonna go grab some lunch here, but I do want to thank you guys for tuning in. So my role here, as I mentioned, is to create resources for you guys to do better in your voiceover career. I come up with my own video strategy, so I'm literally always looking for ideas for videos. So if there's something that you guys want to see, comment on a YouTube video. I see them every morning. That's the first thing I do. I grab my coffee, I tune into YouTube, and I go through all the comments. So I want to make sure that I'm giving you guys the absolute best resources possible. And that means that I do need some feedback from you guys to know what would be the most useful tools for you. So let me know. I'm happy to make a video on any topic pertaining to audio, voiceover, voices, anything you want to know about the company. Really excited for that, and expect to see more lives like this. We're probably going to keep doing one a month at the end of the month. So really looking forward to seeing you guys in the next one. I really appreciate the questions, and I certainly appreciate your time. And thank you guys everyone for tuning in. Right on. Have a good day, guys. We'll see you later.